Alright, so what is the first question focusing on? Question 1?
Allocate Manufacturers Limited has two manufacturing departments, machinery and assembly. It also has two service departments, maintenance and powerhouse. The information in the table below is available for becoming one. So the information required.
Right, yeah, we've got two tables.
Analyze the above indirect costs between the four departments, showing the basis of apportionment you have to use.
Okay, so apportionment means how are we going to split it? Apportion. Okay, apportion means allocate basically a total to different areas. Okay, so they said in terms of A. So question 1A said analyze the above indirect costs. So we've got indirect materials, we've got indirect labor. Those are the two costs that we've got here. And then they've given you information here relating to the actual business. So we've got the number of employees, we've got the area in terms of meters squared, we've got plant valuation, direct labor, machine hours, maintenance hours, and units of power. Okay, so do you agree these costs at the top here, what do these costs represent? Expenses. These expenses need to be allocated to a specific product based on number of employees, area, valuation, direct hours, depending on what we've got. Okay, remember this whole management or cost and management accounting chapter, chapters, was looking at what? Absorbing or allocating cost to a specific item. Right, so if we're manufacturing a specific item, how much are we going to be allocating to those specific areas? Right, and they said here, analyze the above indirect costs. We've only got those two, between the four departments shown, based on appropriate apportionment, basis of apportionment. Right, so let's draw a table. I'm just going to recreate that. So we're going to use these two lines. So indirect material. Okay.
Is this like a calculation?
Yes, we need to explain, but we need to show it to us. So they said showing the allocation to different departments. Okay, so indirect material is the first line. Indirect labor is the second line. Okay, what are your different departments? Well, we've got how many? 4 departments. We've got machinery, that's 1. We've got assembly, that's 2. We've got maintenance, that's 3. And we've got powerhouse, that's 4. Okay, so those are the different departments. Okay, we know that the total, what is the total? Dollars. Well, that's $1 million then. So total is how much I'm going to be allocating. So indirect material, 1064, this is all in thousands. Okay, so asterisk in thousands. Okay, so 1064 was what we had there, and then we had 2578 here, 2578 there. Right, so what they're asking you to do is allocate or apportion those costs, the total cost, everything, for the indirect cost that the business has. Okay, so what does this business have in terms of indirect costs? It has a total of 1.064 million. Okay, those are in thousands. And we've got $2.578 million that we need to be allocating to indirect labor and indirect material. Right, so those are the two things that we're looking at. They said analyze the above indirect costs between the 4 departments, showing the basis of apportionment you have used. Okay, so in terms of machinery, assembly, maintenance, and powerhouse, how am I allocating the total to those 4 departments? That's what they're asking you to do. Okay, they say show the basis of apportionment. Right, so I'm either going to be using number of employees, area, plant valuation, direct hours, machine hours, maintenance hours, units of power used. Okay, so if you look at the available information, okay, do I have information for all departments looking at all of these measurements? Yes or no?
Okay, what would you ask me?
Does the information here provide you with information for all 4 departments for all the different measures?
No, that's for 4 departments.
But not for everything. Number of employees I have, area I have, plant valuation I have, direct labor hours, do I have it for all of them? No, I've only got that for 2 departments. So can I use that as the basis of allocation for the expenses? No, I can't. Okay, so indirect material. What do you think is going to be the best way of apportioning? So in other words, allocating this total to the departments. Will I be using employees, area, plant valuation? Which do you think is the best way?
Employees.
Okay, so you're saying that we should allocate the indirect materials based on the employees. I don't think so. The labor would be employees, don't you think? Okay, because let's think about it logically. Employees, would the number of employees affect the amount of material used? I don't think so. Okay, that wouldn't be the best way to allocate it. But could you use area? Do you think a bigger area would use more material?
Yeah.
Yes. Plant valuation, that you could also use. Okay, because plant valuation means how much does that department cost us in terms of value. But maybe if the department is worth more, they might not necessarily use more material. That's the only problem with that. So looking at this, you have option to either use these 3. Okay, because those 3 have information in terms of a basis of allocation for all 4 departments. And here I've got all 4 departments. Okay, so we need to double check. Where's your calculator? Can I quickly do a working? We need to add up. So let me show these costs that they've given you in the actual information. Right, they've given you machinery 29298. Okay, they've given you 482 here. They've given you 132 there, and they've given you powerhouse of how much? 152. Right, for labor, they've given you 706 here. They've given you 918 here. They've given you 282 there. And they've given you 672 there. Okay, assuming this was done correctly, let's add those up. What do I get? I get 1064, that's correct. Okay, 1064 is good. If I add up all of this, I get 2578, that's good. So they've allocated it correctly. We need to see what the base of allocation was for something like machinery. So let's take one of them. Okay, there's the machinery. How did they allocate the total to this department? Okay, was it based on, what was the first one? Number of employees, so employees. Question mark? Or was it based on area? Or was it based on valuation, plant valuation? Okay, that's what we're looking at. Okay, what was it based on in terms of the allocation? Employees, area, valuation, what was it based on? Right, so now if I'm looking at this, that's the total. So the basis or the base divided by the total times the total cost is the allocation. That's what you're doing. Right, so let's check. What bases do we have? Well, base number 1 was employees. Then we had area. Then we had plant valuation. Right, so if you've got those bases, how many employees does this business have? 40 here in this department, 80 in the next, 20 in this one, and 10 in that one. In terms of area, 3,000 meters squared, 5,000 meters squared, 1,000 meters squared, and 200 meters squared. And the plant valuation, 13, 5, 10, no, not 10, 1,000, and 200. Okay, this figure is correct. No, I've read the same line. Just check it. Okay, you've got it in front of you. 40, 80, 20, 10. 3,000, 5,000, 1,200. The last line was 13, 5,
2, 4.
Okay, this was supposed to be 2, 4. And that's supposed to be 16. Okay, now that's right. Okay, so now I need to look at the total in terms of this allocation. So how many employees does this business have in total? 150. How much area does this business have in total? 9,200. How much is the total plant worth? 22,000. Okay, so we're looking at how did they get this? Okay, 298 as the allocation of that. So let's check. I'm going to use the basis. Okay, so employees. If I'm going to be allocating this cost, so that cost, times the employees, divide by the total, that gives me there, 283. See, there's the 283. Okay, 283 is not 298, so that can't be right. Let's try the next one. Area, that's the area. Okay, let me fix these formulas so it'll work. Okay, times the area, which is that, divided by the total. There's the total. Okay, what did that give me? 346. So they probably use plant valuation. Let's check. There's the total times the plant valuation divided by total. Okay, that's not the right allocation because that's the total. So they've used this and they've given that to you, hey? No, they gave that to you. They gave that information. They gave you the indirect materials. They said in their question that 298,000 is being allocated to the machine based on what? So look at this employees. Employees is the closest one. If I take the number of employees and I divide that by 150, that gives me the fraction. So the fraction of that total is what was allocated there. Now the numbers don't match, which is a problem. Further information is available as follows. Analyze the above indirect costs between the 4 departments showing the base of apportionments. Yeah, see that doesn't make sense because look, what is the total? 1064,123 times, or let's leave out the 3, times employees were 40 divided by the total, which was 150. Okay, when I type that into the calculator, you get that answer. Okay, it's this times that divided by that. That's correct. And that gave you 290. Okay, they're saying 298. That's saying 283. If I use area as the basis, so what did I do there? I did the same thing. I just used the area as the basis. So how much area does the machinery have? 3,000. So then I said 3,000 divided by the total. How much total? 9,200. Okay, then I got that. Yeah, that, and that. That's correct. And then this one, I said, what is the total? 1064 times the plant valuation is 13,000 divided by the total 22. Close brackets. Okay, that was that allocation. Okay, so what they've given you here at the top doesn't meet what they're saying here at the bottom. So I'm guessing that they're asking you to suggest the best. Okay, they said show the base of apportionment you have used. Okay, so what we have used. So what have we used? I've used all three. I've used employee, I've used area, and I've used plant valuation. Okay, so which do you think is the best to use? How do you think is the best way to allocate material to the department? Should I allocate the indirect material, okay, based on employees, based on area, or based on plants? Which do you think is the best? You're saying plant valuation. Then you're allocating 628 towards that department based on that. Area valuation. So if the plant is worth more, would they use more material? Or bigger size using more material? I think area would be better. That's what I would go with. That's one. Okay, so I'm going to write down here, we should use, or the business should use area as the basis of apportionment. Yeah, they used the right word, appropriate. Apportionment. So apportion the total costs, total indirect costs, indirect material costs. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm looking at what they've got. They've only allocated how much? 298. I think they should allocate more, because I think they should use area as the basis of the allocation. That's what I'm saying here. Okay, they said analyze the above indirect costs between the 4 departments, showing the basis of apportionment you have used. Alright, so I've shown all 3. I've actually done 3 things. I've shown the basis of allocation for the employees, the area, and the plants. And I've said that the best one I think that they should use is area. That's what I've said. It's going to be interesting to see how they mark this, because you could motivate either or. I don't think you should motivate employees, because material used in the business shouldn't be based on the number of employees. I think that area is the best option. The bigger the area, the more material we use. That kind of makes sense, right? Okay, so that's what I'm using for my basis of allocation. Okay, the problem with management accounting is it's very subjective. So having said that, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be interesting to see how they mark this, because there is a level of subjectivity here. Okay, hopefully they mark this based on its merit. So I've done everything possible. I've allocated this according to employees, area, and production. So I've actually allocated it using all 3. I've just made a decision to use the one rather than the other. I've said they should rather use area rather than any of the other methods.
Must I do this table as well?
No, that was the question. That was the question, that was the question. That was the answer. Okay. Yeah, because that's it there. So the reason why I did that is so I don't have to use the calculator. It takes longer, so I just used Excel to do the workings. Okay, but I was trying to explain it as we went. Yeah, so the basis of allocation, let's highlight these. So this relates to the machine. Okay, those are the costs that are being allocated to that department.
Okay.
No, those are just the workings that I had included. Okay, just so you can see where I'm getting it from. Well, this is out of 6 marks. We still need to look at the indirect labor. So I've discussed the indirect material. Now I need to discuss the indirect labor. So I'm just going to change color. Let's put that in blue. Blue. Okay, so if I'm going to be allocating the indirect labor, all right, with labor, obviously, what's going to affect your labor costs? your employees. Do you agree? Okay, so here there is no choice. Okay, you should be allocating costs based on what? The employees. Right, you wouldn't be able to motivate area affecting the indirect labor or plant valuation. That'll be unusual. Right, so from a management accounting point of view, okay, here at the bottom, I'm going to use area. Okay, so let's copy this, let's paste it. Okay, this was to allocate the, what is the cost? The 1064. Material, indirect material. Right, that was what I was doing here. Okay, so that was the first bit. Now I'm going to be allocating.
Are you doing part B now?
No, I'm not doing part B, I'm still doing A. Okay, A said indirect costs between the 4 departments. Indirect material is one, indirect labor is the other. Okay, so basis to allocate, so I'm going to copy this. To allocate the indirect labor. Okay, so you're not going to highlight area. You're not going to highlight that one because you're not going to use area. You're going to use employees. Okay, that's how I'm going to allocate my cost. Right, so the answer then is going to be this. Brackets. How much was the total cost? What was my labor cost? There, labor cost 2578. 2578 times. How many labor hours how many laborers do we have? 40 in that department, do you agree? Out of the total, how many total people are we employing? 150. Okay, there's the allocation according to labor hours. So it's that total times that number of employees divided by that total number of employees. So 678. Okay, so how much have I allocated in terms of indirect labor? Well, the question gave us 706. That's how much they've said they've allocated. I believe they should use employees, so let's write that down. The business should use laborers or number of employees. Yeah, let's rather use that. Number of employees as the basis of allocating the total labor costs. Right, that's what you're saying. Okay, you're saying that they should use that as the cost that is allocated to that specific department. Okay, based on what measure? Based on the number of employees they employ. Right, so that completes A. Okay, the last two are nice. They're giving you the instructions, so you can.
Can we do the last two next time?
Okay, we're not finished now. At least then one is done, and then we can start a new question. Okay, B and C won't take too long because hopefully you've understood that. Okay, so the last bit is just allocation. Okay, I see we've only looked at the one department. We're actually going to have to look at all four. So I'm going to give you some homework for the accounting. I've shown you one department being allocated based on labor. Okay, I'd like you to allocate the cost, so those totals, okay, for all the other departments. Right, so I'll finish that here on the Excel spreadsheet, but if you can do that for the other departments. So all we've done is we've just allocated that cost to the machinery. We still needed to allocate that to the assembly, to the maintenance, and to the powerhouse. That's all. It's the same calculation, you're just using different numbers. Okay, so that you can try do. Let's just finish the last bit, and then we can just check what you've done. Alright, just to help save some time, because if I do it now, it's going to take too long. Okay, so let's just finish off the last two.
So what must I do? What question is that part of?
Allocate, it's A. A said, analyze the above cost between the 4 departments. How many departments did I show?
This is 8 marks. B.
Yes, I know B is 8 marks. A says, analyze the above indirect cost between the 4 departments. How many departments did we use?
3.
1. I only used machinery. That was the allocation of what? The costs, that cost to that machine for the employees, for the area. That was only for the machinery. I didn't look at the assembly, the maintenance, and the powerhouse. That's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to allocate that cost to the assembly, allocate that cost to the maintenance, allocate that cost to the powerhouse. Because they said 4 departments. Okay. Right, try it. It's exactly what we did, just for the other. So now instead of looking at machinery, look at assembly and do it for that one. Okay, this one, reapportion the cost of service departments. The service departments, there were 2. The question said maintenance and the powerhouse. So now I'm only going to look at these 2. So I'm just going to copy this, maintenance and those 2. That's what I need. Okay, that you've got in your book, so you don't have to write it down. I'm just writing it down so you can see it here. Okay, so in terms of the maintenance and the powerhouse, those are the service departments. Okay, in terms of the service departments, you've got maintenance and you've got powerhouse. Those 2, those are the costs. See, that's the cost. So what is this representing? Costs. Right, you've got these bases of apportionment, maintenance and powerhouse. So you've got number of employees, it's the same actually, exactly the same. Employees area valuation. Okay, there. Right, so now we need to look at which is the best way of allocating those costs to the maintenance powerhouse based on the total. So we need to check the total here. The total I had here earlier, which is fine, those 2 amounts. That's the one. That's indirect labor. Indirect labor. I'm not using indirect labor. Reapportion the cost of service departments over the 2 production departments using the appropriate basis. So maintenance and powerhouse. Those are the 2 departments, and I'm apportioning the costs associated to those departments. So what do we have? We've got rent and local taxes. We've got supervision, and we've got plant depreciation. Okay, so I think they want you, because this is 8 marks, they say reapportion the cost of the service departments over the 2 production departments using the appropriate basis. If you look at this, indirect materials, we've got amounts here. Indirect labor, we've got amounts there. Do we have amounts for the rent and the local supervision, the plant depreciation? No, we don't. Okay, so those 3 we need to apportion. So B is asking you about those 3. Can you allocate taxes, supervision, and plant in terms of those totals to those departments? So are you going to use employees, area, or valuation? What am I going to use for maintenance and powerhouse? That's what they're asking you to do. Okay, so we've got, I'm just going to take these headings. I need these headings. Actually, just those 2. Well, let's do all of them because number 8 is out of 8 marks. Okay, let's write that down there. Okay. What are the other costs? Rent and local taxes. Let's write that down. Rent and taxes. How much was the total? 1426. Agreed? Okay. Supervision. How much was the total? 660. And then plant depreciation.
1650.
Okay, 1650. Right, so those amounts need to be allocated to those departments. Okay, on what basis? So what basis are you going to use? Basis for rates and taxes. Rates and taxes, or rent actually. Rent and taxes. Would rent and taxes be allocated number of employees? No. Would rent and taxes be allocated area? Yes. Why? Because it's rent. Yeah, rent is number of areas. So basis for allocation? Area. Right. What basis of allocation are we going to use for the supervision? Who gets supervised? Exactly. So let's write that down. Employees. Okay. And then the last one, which was the plant depreciation. Depreciation is based on what? The value of the plant, not so?
Yeah.
Okay, plant valuation. Right, plant value. Right, so now we can allocate those costs. Earlier I had the, so this is coming from your textbook. Okay, so machinery. Right, I'm going to be allocating this cost. So see, this is how we allocate the cost. We take the total, we multiply it by area. How much area does the machinery take up? How much area does the machinery take up?
3,000.
3,000, there's it. Divided by, what was the total area? 9,200. That's the cost that I'm allocating. See, that's how you do it. Okay, supervision. There's the total times employees. How many employees does the machinery department have? 40 employees, right? Divided by how many employees does the business employ? 150. Does that make sense? Allocate. Okay, plant value, same thing. How much do we need to allocate? 1650 times it by how much does the plant machinery cost? 13,000 divided by how much is the total? 22. Enter. Okay, we need to do that for all of them. So assembly, same thing. Okay, so tell me what to do. What do I do to allocate the cost? How much is the total assembly cost? How much is the total cost for rent and taxes? That, do you agree? Times it by, what do you want me to times it by? Look at the information in the question.
Area.
Good. So how much area does the assembly take up?
5,000.
Okay, I'll just reference it here. Divided by the total. There you go, you got that one. Okay, let's do employee. You do employee. What's the total? 660.
Divided by the area times divided by the total.
Not the area. Employee. Okay. Right, so employees for that one, 80 divided by the total. Okay. This one, what's the total? 1650. Times it by what?
Labor? No, the plant value.
Yes, because plant value is the basis of the allocation. So the plant value here was 5,000 divided by 22. See that? Okay, so can I give you those to try? Right. See if you can allocate that. So maybe just write that down because that's B. You can do the rest and then I'll finish it. You can mark it. Okay. Just look at this quick. Yeah, and then the last one is just the absorption rate. Then we can discuss once you've done it. Okay. So I'm just gonna take a photo of this so I've got the question as well and I can just finish it and then we can see how that goes. Okay. Let's just take the bottom as well. Okay, so that you can try to do in terms of allocation. We've done half of it. We haven't done all of it. Okay, so can you allocate the rest and see how that goes? Wednesday, do you want to finish accounting then on Wednesday?
Yeah.
And do the assignment finish? Then accounting is complete. It's totally finished. Then we just need to look at past papers. Okay, because Friday you're at the college, so that's good. So let's try finish the accounting assignment then, at least then that's complete. Then maths, we can finish it next week. Because maths, we've just got a little bit to complete and then we'll be done with that one as well. Okay.
Okay, cool.
That's good.